things, I want to welcome Linda Anderson, Hollywood's first Black commissioner and president of the no, you're not president.
No, not anymore.
Last month. Anyway, here's Linda, first Black commissioner.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank you all for being here today. I am just so happy to see so many people here. First of all, I'd like to thank my family. Y'all stand up for me, please. Come on, stand up. Okay, thank you. I have my niece, my son, my daughter, and my niece back here. And I'm so happy to see him. And I want my church family to stand up because, you know, yes, thank you. And my mighty Spartans, Hollywood Hills class of 1970, y'all stand up. Where's Vanessa? Where's Vanessa?
I'm from 69.
Oh, yes, it's okay. It's all Spartans. Yeah, it's Spartans. Okay. And I would like to, all my friends and everyone that I've met through the years, I appreciate you all coming out. And I'll be remiss. Sometimes I forget Kay, but I should never forget her because she was my boss and she became my friend. And she's just right behind me all the time. Kay, stand up. She was the supervisor at Transportation of Broward County School Board. Also, my dear friends and also my colleagues, Carol Shuham, Adelma, you all please stand up. Reba, did you stand up? Okay. All right. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm missing somebody I forgot to introduce. But if I forgot you? Oh, we'll turn the lights off as soon as I finish. Okay. Huh? Oh, sorry. Okay. You started. Okay. But anyway, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank the society for inviting me. This is not one thing my son, I just have to tell on him. He told me to stop speaking. He told me to stop driving. I was getting too old. He told me to stop driving to Hollywood. But if you all know Linda, Linda's going to do what she want to do. Okay? I also like to thank the friends of the Sterling Road Library. It was when they called me, somebody else gave them my name, and I was about to say no. And I said, we have to tell the history. If we don't tell the history, then our kids won't know the history. So I said, yes. And Karen is so sweet. She works really hard. Her and Andy and the society, they work real hard to make this possible each month. They have different series. And I ask you to make sure you come out and join them each month. I'm grateful and truly grateful. My name is Linda Hill Anderson, and I threw the Hill in there because I wanted my parents' name to be known and represented. Would you all turn the lights off now? What'd you say, Deborah? Okay. Did Pastor Anderson come in? I didn't see him. Not yet. Okay. Don't let me forget to introduce him. Okay. Today I want to tell you a story, and you'll see some pictures flashing, and it's going to be about my family, my school, and I'm not long-winded, so it's going to be very, very short, and then you'll be able to ask me some questions. It's not a fancy story. It's not a perfect one. This is a story about me growing up in Liberia. As you know, I was born in 1952, and I'm proud to say I was born in 1952. So many people have lived this long. I'm 73 years old, and I think I look darn good. I was born in Dania, Florida, but my birth certificate said Hollywood, Florida. I went back a few months ago, my birth certificate said Broward County. So I asked them, I say, why does my birth certificate say Broward County? They say the older you get, the less writing they put on the birth certificate. Well, I'm really old because it's a little amount of my birth certificate. My parents came to Hollywood. My father came in 1943, and my mother came in 1945. They both my mother lived in Casita, Georgia, and my dad was born in Americus, Georgia. My dad first moved to Delray Beach, Florida, where my grandfather bought a lot of property. And as you know, during that time, money was very tight. So for my grandfather to buy that much property, it was really, really hard. And he had a career he cut grass. So he had to cut a lot of grass to get the amount of property that he owned. In fact, if you go downtown Delray, the property where all the stores are at, it belonged to my grandfather. So I came from a family that really worked hard and wanted to accomplish it and wanted more for their children. Both of my parents moved to Hollywood. Now, years ago, like I said, on Ely Boulevard, which is 12th Avenue and also 22nd Avenue, it was called Hollywood. Then years later, somehow Dania got their name on it, and it's no longer Dania. I'm no longer Hollywood. It's Dania Beach. So one side of the road, which is 12th Avenue, is Dania Beach, and the opposite side of the road is Ely Boulevard. My parents met at Attucks High School. They met, fell in love. My mom thought my dad was the cutest thing she's ever seen. I mean, he looked all right. But they both attend Attucks, and my father graduated in 1952. My dad was an all-star. He played basketball and he played football. So he was just number one, and he taught us to play basketball. I played a little football too. He told me I was too dainty to be out there playing football, but I wanted to play. And he always would tell me, girls, supposed to be girls. And my mom, she always wanted me to act like a young lady. And I think I did pretty good. I act like a little, sometimes. But I like to play basketball. I don't think I can hoop anymore, though. So, Attucks was special to anyone who attended Attucks. It was a special school. It mattered. It mattered to us because it was an all-black school. And during that time, it was probably the only black school that was in the area. And the black students, we had so much spirit at Attucks. And that's one thing I miss by going to Hollywood Hills. But like I said, my parents met there, fell in love, loved each other to death. Okay. Then came along me. I came in 1952, and my father decided that he wanted to go to the service, and he was located in Junction City, Kansas. We lived in Junction City, Kansas for almost 2 years before moving back to Hollywood. We moved to Hollywood, and we lived with my grandmother, my fraternal grandmother, Lula Mae Hill, which is also Lula Mae Chapman, but she preferred us to use the Hill name. I learned so much about my family and my grandparents. Hard-working people that taught me to be a hard worker. They wanted us to get educated. They didn't want us to work in anyone's house. Because, as you know, the railroad track always in any black neighborhood separates the white from the black. As you know, John Young, he purchased the property over in the Liberia area. And most of the maids and builders lived in that area. And they had to go to the beach to work, clean up, and that's where most of my parents did. My mom worked for Ed Hatch. If you've been here for a long time, Ed Hatch owned the Pumpernet. Anybody remember the Pumpernet? You? Yeah? Pumpernet? Pumpernet was like Bass Creek, Bass over here. They made fish hooks. They were located, huh? Yes, that's right. It was located right here on Bryant's Road, right next to Daniel Point. In fact, Daniel Point wasn't even there. Daniel Point was just water. I was baptized over there in that area because it was just all water. And being baptized there, I was baptized by my uncle and my dad. And what was so nice about it, my dad would go there on Saturdays and check out the water to make sure the water was deep enough and it was warm enough that we would have baptism. After my parents were married and we came back, we joined the New Jerusalem Baptist Church. That was the first church that we were a part of. I told Pastor Anderson a while back, I kept looking up at the church pulpit and I kept saying, why does that look familiar to me? I didn't realize that as a little kid that I was up there doing my speeches. So we left from New Jerusalem around 1957 or 58, and our crossing guard, who was Reverend H.W. Wright, who was Henry Graham's grandfather, he was our crossing guard at Addicts. And we left there and we went to another building, which was called the Teen Center. The Teen Center was located across the street where Boggsfield is located now, right on the corner of Sheridan Street and 22nd Avenue. We went there, and some of the pictures you'll see, I was very, very active, and my son would tell you that. He had to either sing in the choir or he had to usher. I had so many kids, and I love kids. I think that was my background of just loving kids and starting out, because living in Liberia, it was like a family. We were so close-knit. We knew everybody's name. We knew their children. They knew their grandmother. And if you come to a funeral now of any of the elders, I think Commissioner Shuham and Commissioner Adelman could contest to that. The church is full. There is no room. because we loved those people and they became a part of our family. And as I was growing up, and I attended Addicts later on, I went to Addicts from 1st to 2nd grade. Then they built the Mary Cloud Bethune. And in 3rd grade, I went to Mary McLeod Bethune from 3rd to 5th grade. And one thing I remember about going to Mary McLeod Bethune was, anybody heard of the May Day? What was interesting about the May Day? Anybody can tell me? Nobody? I know Jackie can remember. You know, my favorite thing was braiding the maypole. Yes, that was my favorite thing, because it was right after Easter, and we had our Easter dress on. I don't know if there's a picture up there with my Easter dress on, but we had the crinoline slips, and the dresses would stick out all the way out to here. Yes, and the lace, we had the lace socks on, the little hats, the bonnets, and I always had a purse. I think that's the problem with me now, having so many purses and shoes. Because my mom loved for me to have shoes and pair. Oh, my godchildren just walked in. So that was one thing I liked about Bethune. We were taught well. We had great teachers. I just looked back. I was going to put my report card up, but I didn't want to put the remarks that my teacher said about me on there. So I left that out. But we had teachers, and they said one thing about Linda. I do want to say, Linda won't speak up. I still have that problem now. I don't speak up as much. But I'm not going to tell that story from last night, though. But it was interesting. I probably will tell it later. But I went to Collins Elementary for 6th grade. Collins Elementary is located off of Griffin Road. My mother paid 25 cents for a bus to pick us up. The bus came once a week. We had to walk. I live off of Sheridan Street. My parents and grandparents bought property on Hope Street, which was called Hood Street. So we would walk. I think Jackie was living there also. The bus would never come pick us up. So we had, on Sterling Road, used to be a golf course. And we would have to duck the balls and cross that golf course, because they were going to hit us with those golf balls. They didn't care. So we would have a stick or a long, yes, it was a stick or a piece of wood hidden in the bushes. So it was a little lake that we had to cross. So we would have to pull the stick out and cross over this little lake to go to Collins Elementary. Now, we were never late for school. We were always on time. But the walk, just to think, many of us now, we can't make that walk from Sheridan Street to Griffin Road, especially now with the traffic. We didn't have that much traffic, then in that time. So we stayed at Collins Elementary for 1 year, and we went back to Addicts. We went back to Addicts. We were so happy to be back at Addicts. It was like somebody had just stole our heart away. We went back to Addicts. Oh, I'm not going to forget you, Kat, when I come back. I forgot. That was who I forgot. But we went back to Addicts, stayed to Addicts until 9th grade, and then we went to the barracks. Was not happy. They took us from a beautiful school We might did not have the up-to-date books, but we had a school that was together, a school that had spirit. We had a cheerleading squad. We had a football team. We had a basketball team. We had great teachers, teachers that loved us, teachers that would call our parents and said that we were misbehaving, teachers that would come to our house. And my grandmother, she ran a rooming house for all the new teachers that started at attics. So they would rent a room there, and my mother would iron their clothes. She always had a side job. She taught us well, Brian. She taught us well. But when we went back to attics, it was so hard for us to say goodbye. But they built a brand new Hollywood Hills. When we got to Hollywood Hills, it wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. So many fights, so many things going on that I was really afraid. All of us was really afraid to go to the bathroom. We would go in threes. And what would we do? What would we do? Let's go by the classroom, get the attention of one person, go to the next room, get another person attention, and we went to the bathroom in threes because we were afraid that we would be hurt. And during that time, you know, that was during the time of Martin Luther King, and it was so many riots and so many things going on. But Hollywood Hills, it taught me a lot. It taught me to be brave. It taught me to be strong. It taught me to study. I was talking to one of my classmates, and they said, you know, I never studied, but they were A student. I wonder how. But they taught us, they motivated us. They made sure that we would get the best education, and that's what our parents wanted us to do. When I was, I also did, I would say, I went to Hollywood Hills, and I also attend Sheridan Vocational. I went to school to be a cosmetologist. And over there was totally different than Hollywood Hills. We had a ball. We had all different type of races, and everybody just got along. It was really good. But I had one thing that happened to me. I became too complacent. I just thought that everybody loved me. Hey, no. So, I don't say I skipped school. I skipped school. I didn't skip school. Never skipped school. But one day, I think it wasn't senior skip day, but I went to one of my friends in Hollywood Hills. I was having a great time in the pool. We were having snacks. The mother gave us food and everything. And the father came home. And I heard that nasty word. I didn't hear much, but I heard that nasty word. I was so upset. I put my bathing suit on very quickly. And it's the N word. I heard that word. And like I said, I put my clothing on, got in my car. Yeah, I had a car. Not many people had a car, but I had a car, got in my car, came home. I never told my mother that story. Because if I told my father would have been very angry for me being there. But I thought everybody was accepting in that area, but it wasn't. They was not. I was a child that I felt like I was very bashful. And many people said, you wasn't bashful. But I was. I was very bashful. I didn't talk that much. I stayed to myself. I had a lot of friends. But I was just a little withdrawn. And I think it came from leaving from Addicts and going over to Hollywood Hills. And I think we stayed close together because we came on that bus together. Charlotte Hodrick was our first bus driver, and I remembered that. And I didn't have to look at my paper. I was shocked. She was our first bus driver, and she watched out for us. She made sure we got into the school, and there was no problems as we exit the bus. When you think about where we come from and where we're at now, and I look at the room and I look around and I see how beautiful it looks and how, once upon a time, this would not be. It was a whole different generation. But just going back a little bit on how I got here. I know you saw the article, I wrote an article about Liberia and how we didn't get the same services in Liberia as the other communities. We didn't get our garbage picked up. We didn't get the vacant lots mowed, which that sometimes that still is here. But we didn't feel different because our parents worked hard so we could have a house to live in. In third grade, just going back, in third grade is when we moved into our house. And my grandmother, she bought the property, and I lived right next door to my grandmother. And my great-grandmother lived down the street. And my Aunt Kate lived 2 houses down, which now I live 1 house down from my son in Coral Springs. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to leave out of it. But it was a time that, as I said before, they didn't make a lot of money, but they worked. I think my mom worked 3 jobs. She served during the Jewish holidays. She drove school bus. She was determined that she was going to get a pension. She taught me about the pension. I didn't know nothing about the pension as a little kid. She said, you make sure you get a job with a pension. Thank you. And so you can get Social Security, pay for your Social Security. But they loved the community. My grandmother, Henry Graham, Lucille Johnson, and I think it was Lucille Johnson. And Annie Thomas and Raymond Thomas started the Liberia Civic Association. I was young, and my grandmother said, come on, I need you to go. And I was like, Grandma, I don't want to go. It's a bunch of old people. Look, I'm old now. She said, I need you to take notes. I said, okay. So I went. And I would take the little notes for them, and they were discussing the different things that was going on in the community. And it kind of opened up my eyes, Then I wrote another letter to Sun Sentinel about Hollywood Hills, about Liberia. I started writing little letters, and it's Kate No, and she's an English teacher. I'm not a great writer. I don't write that great, but I wrote a letter to, talking about what was going on in my neighborhood. And that was the first beginning of wanting to be a part of my community. They always said I was an activist. I didn't see myself as an activist. I saw a person that wanted to see a better community. I wanted us to have the same things as the people on the other side of the track. So I became probably the 5th president of the Liberia Civic Association, because the baton was passed on to us after our elders had worked so hard to get the city's attention that we needed help on our side of the track. I didn't even know who was the mayor at the time. And after getting involved, I learned the mayors, the commissioners, everything. Knew nothing about politics. And it was interesting to know that back in 1960, Liberia had their first Chamber of Commerce. And it was run by Deacon Riley, who was also a member of the New Jerusalem Baptist Church. We got some strong people from New Jerusalem Baptist Church. That tells you something. We had pride, we had structure, we had a vision. I just think about the vision of John Young. He had a vision for Hollywood. We had Joseph Young. Thank you. I always call him John Young. I think because of my Uncle John that lived across the street, that lived to be 107 years old, just passed about 2 years ago. And he cut yard on the golf course. And he was just an awesome man. He was my grandmother's brother. And he taught us a lot. Going just back a little bit, as going to Sheridan Vocational, I was the first runner-up for VICA. And if you know what VICA is, it's the Vocational Industrial Club of America. It meant leadership, it meant confidence, it meant standing tall. My friend Debbie Cox, she became Miss VICA. So she said to me, she said, Linda, I don't understand why you didn't win for Miss VICA. I said, you don't understand? You're white. I'm black. So that's why. She said, oh. She said, but you're prettier than I am. I said, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. But it was okay being first runner-up. Hey, during that time, I was lucky to be first runner-up. Around the same time, when living in Liberia, we couldn't go too far. We had the Winn-Dixie, where my son had his first job at. That made sure he got his first job. And Mr. Miller was your boss. Mr. Davis was your boss. We had stores. We had King Store, Harris Store, and we had restaurants, barbershops, and beauty shop. Miss Annie Thomas ran a beauty salon. I also worked in this shop with Mrs. Thomas. She gave me my second job as a hairdresser. My first job was at the Dollhouse on Hollywood Boulevard. I don't know if some of you all know the Dollhouse. It's right next. I think it's right next to Ricky's Wings now. Ricky's Wings, right there, not far from the credit union. But we also build churches. And that's one thing my parents taught me, was to go to church. I went to church all day on Sunday. My dad was the Sunday school teacher. He said, when the door opens, you should follow. So when our church was located on Sheridan Street, so about the time he walked to Sheridan Street, we need to be sitting. Because if we don't go to church and we play sick, we go nowhere that week. No football game, no basketball game, nothing. no entertainment at all. So church started around 9 o'clock. We go back home, have family dinner. Around 3 o'clock, we was back to the church. Then there was youth. It was BYTU, right. We stayed there, went back home, maybe not. Then we had night church. We don't have night church no more. We had night church. So we were out of church around 8 o'clock, and we had Reverend Wright Jr. He was our youth pastor. After church, we would go to Dairy Queen over on Dania Beach. I hate Dairy Queen, closed up, but we would go every Sunday after church, and that was a treat. And now you don't see that many kids in church. I don't know why, because my parents made sure that I attend church. Some of my accomplishments as president of the Liberia Civic Association, and what I was a part of the National Night Out. I was a part of the Crime Watch. And one of the things also, we had the Red Ribbon. I don't know if you all still celebrate the Red Ribbon. It was in 1995 that one of the DEA agent was killed. And that was during the crisis when drugs, in 1980, cocaine, drugs was really, 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 really high. And I had all the churches, I sent a letter to all the churches, and I had all the churches to dismiss at 12 o'clock. And they did it, which to my surprise. I have to thank Kim because she helped with the flyers, Kim Ford. She helped with the flyers and put them out, and Reverend Micah Anderson was our first speaker. So when they let out at 12 o'clock, we walked down Ely Boulevard, and Bryce Funeral Home gave us a casket. And we pushed the casket down the road. It was trying to tell the children, this is what happens to you when you use drugs. So we pushed it down, we had bands, we sang, and we got down to Henry Graham's Park, and Reverend Anderson was our first speaker. I think we did it for about 5 years until, attendance dwindled down and people stopped attending. And I thought it was so important that our kids know about drugs. And I think now we still need to be teaching our children about drugs and how important it is for them not to get involved with drugs. But drugs are still coming in. And maybe one day we won't have drugs on the streets. So that was one of my things that I was really, really happy about doing. I also supported the Martin Luther King events, and we had it at the Diplomat Hotel. And we had big name people like Felicia Richard Shaw, Carol Mosley Bronze. It was beautiful. I hate it when the city started funding it, and we no longer have a big celebration for Martin Luther King like other cities. We don't have a parade. We don't have too much of anything but a fun day. And Martin Luther King wasn't about fun day. It was about our rights. And I think people should remember that. Also, one of my accomplishments was the changing of the Network Center. Our first black officer, Frankie Shriver, was killed in the line of duty on her first day of working. And we renamed the center the Frankie Shriver's building. Also, our first officer for Liberia, his name was Jake, but His name is A.J. Saunders. His name is also on the building. We only had one officer for the Hollywood, one black officer that covered Liberia. I'm not Hollywood, I'm sorry. For Liberia area. He was the first black officer hired. And he knew everybody's name. He knew everybody's parents. He knew everybody's children. So if you got in trouble, he took you to your house. And your mom and dad took care of you. So most of the time, he didn't have to pick me up because I knew better. I often think about the quote that Dr. Martin Luther King said. He said we should not quietly accept injustice. He said we must stand up, strong, brave, not afraid. I also think about John Lewis. John Lewis said, when something is not right, not fair, you just speak up. You must say something. You must do something. Our ancestors could not speak. They could not say anything because they would be beaten. They would be killed. Today we can speak, but the work is not done. We still have prejudice. We still see fear. We still see injustice. The world is watching us now. We will do what we do. Now let us have some fun. I want to ask some questions of you. Just think about these. True or false? I lived in Liberia for over 60 years. True or false? True. I was married to Ernest Anderson for 44 years. I don't hear a lot of truths. Do y'all know it or not? I know many people never saw my husband, so a lot of people never thought I wasn't married. So I had to put it in. I have 2 children and 7 grandchildren. Go ahead. How many say false? I want to see the hands. How many say false? Yeah, do I have 2 children? Do I have 7 grands?
I hope so.
Brian, you want to tell them how many grands I have? You don't know?
Four grands. 2 kids, 4 grands.
I don't. And you are my daughter, huh? My daughter? Don't I have Coco?
Oh, Coco.
Trick question. I have Coco, and who else do I have? Bella. Those are my granddogs. Okay. All right, the next question is, okay. I had 1 brother and 3 sisters. True or false? How many say true? True. My twin sisters passed away in Junction City, Kansas. They lived 2 days, Mary and Marilyn. And here is one more question. What year was the first black commissioner elected in Hollywood? 2020, okay. COVID year, right. Okay. Library raised me It taught me how to walk a long road, how to speak up, how to stand strong. I am who I am because of Liberia. As long as we tell the story, Liberia will live on. Thank you for listening. I got it. Ice out. Ice out. Ice out. Thank you. If anyone have any questions, the floor is open for questions. Okay.
My question is, do you think when the city changed from at-large to districts, that impacted the commission in a good way or a bad way?
I think it was a good thing because if you heard my speech before, Clifford Hepburn was the first black person from Liberia to run for commissioner. And he almost won. But if we had the districting, he would have won. By them having the districting in District 1 through 6, that made us like Adelma and you and all of us. And I never thought in my wildest dream that this little black girl would be a commissioner. I never thought about going into politics. I never thought about it. I never thought I was going to sit on that dais and make decisions, but I did. So, any more questions?
How long did you get to be commissioner?
For my son, so I was going to be there for a few years, but my son made me do it.
He made you quit?
He made me quit.
Thank you.
Thank you. The reason, to be honest, my son did suggest that I quit. But I had my mother had dementia, and I had been taking care of her for almost 9 years. And it was hard. My mother lived on Hope Street, and I lived on Farragut Street, which was one street over. And I had to get up 2 or 3 times a night to go over to the house to check on. I had a camera in the house, but he said there was too much on me, and he wanted to take care of his mama. So he asked me to sell my house, and I sold my mother's house so that we could live together. And I moved I hated to move. You all don't know. I'm here 3 times a week. I burn up 2 tanks of gas coming to Hollywood. And I have to go the back way so my son don't see me coming. But I had to, that's why I had to step down. I did not want to step down because I had so much more I wanted to do. And I think I accomplished a lot, and I forgot to say some of my things I accomplished. If you go to the Martin Luther King Center, please look at that beautiful mural that's on the wall at Martin Luther King Center. I accomplished a lot, and I'm so happy to be sitting with such beautiful ladies and gentlemen on the dais. I miss here. I wanted to do it another few years, but I couldn't. My mother was my heart. My parents were my heart. My mother, like I said, she worked hard for us, and I wanted to give her all of the love I could. I took care of my mom. And as I said at her funeral, she passed in September, and she was 90 years old, and all she said is, I want to live to be 90. And she lived to be 90, and she lived in the house with me, and I had a nurse to help her. But I always say, take care of your parents. And I think my son and my kids are doing a great job, and I thank you all. Thank you all for that. Because my son did something that my grandparents did. They lived next door to each other. So we didn't stop the generation of continuation of buying houses and living in a house. I just feel sorry for our young people. They're not going to be able to afford to have a house. But my grandchildren get my house. Marlene, you have a question? Anybody else have any question?
I only know approximately where Liberia is. Can you define it more precisely in terms of the streets that border it? And has the composition, ethnic composition, racial composition changed over the years?
Yes, it has changed. Let me see. Liberia starts at Sheridan Street, and it ends at Sterling Road. That's north and south. Carol, you still there? The question is the boundaries.
Basically, the tracks.
The tracks divides.
And then, a little bit past Oakwood Plaza, I would say, right?
No, we stop at Sterling. We stop at Sterling. Liberia stops at Sterling.
No, but I mean going west.
Yeah, it's going west. Yes, 26th Avenue. And I'm glad our president of Liberia, who took over after I stepped down, Dr. Basil Phillip, and we have Kat that's running for District 1. Yay. That's here. And one of my classmates that came in late. I didn't mean to say that, Vanessa. And my traveling friend, and Ira over there, and my godchildren over here, they came in late. Any more questions? Any more questions, anybody? Oh, the dynamics. It is very diverse right now. And I will say in the next 5 years, Liberia will not be a black neighborhood. It's not now. I know it's not now, but totally black. Okay, Kat.
It's not really a question, but it's more of a thank you to Commissioner Anderson, because when she served on the commission, we were so grateful. I know you might not have a very strong emotional attachment to the beach, but some of us do, especially over in my district. And there was a controversial project where when you gave the quote, when you said the quote about when you see something that's wrong, you need to stand up and fight against it. And it just that public land means a lot to us. I'm going to tear up now. That public land means a lot to us, and it meant a lot to us that you voted no on that project.
Thank you. And it was the strangest thing when it came up, when we had to vote on that. I just got on the dais at that time. So I believe in right and speaking up. And I said I wasn't going to tell this story, but last night I was at the Hard Rock.
Tell the story.
I was at the Hard Rock, and it was very interesting. And I started talking about politics, which I don't do. I don't talk about politics. And the gentleman was sitting next to me, and I started telling him about Hollywood in Liberia. And he said he lived in Hollywood. I said, where? He said, well, I used to live on Buchanan. I said, how long ago? He said, well, 2022. I said, well, I was your commissioner. And he said, I said, that means you didn't vote. he said, and this gentleman he was white. He was white. So we kept talking, and we were talking, and he left. He came back, and he said to me, he said, you know I'm a Trump supporter. I say, why do I care? I say, does that make me different than you? Yeah, it does. He said, well, I know you're a Democrat. I said, why do you know I'm a Democrat? Because I'm black? He said, no. I said, it is. Is that the reason why you think I'm a Democrat? I said, I have family members that are black, that are Republicans. So he said, I just want us all to get along. I said, well, it starts at the top. So he looked at me and said, what do you mean by it starts at the top? Think about it. It starts at the top. That's why I said at the end, ice out. Okay, thank you. You have a question, Joe?
Just wondering, do you have any future plans, endeavors, goals in the future?
My goal is to stay in the bed until 11:30. Every morning. Every morning, okay? I have to turn my phone off, but that's my feel. I still want to be involved. I've already attended Coral Springs commission meeting. My son don't know that. I wasn't supposed to tell that. I wasn't supposed to tell that. I better cut off. But I'm still going to be working down here and doing some things with Basil. I'm on their meetings most of the time because I can't get Liberia out of my system. So, and Brian knows that. So he'll let me go until I can't go anymore. So that's it. Oh. Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember. Yes, she was shot. The person that she was rescuing out of the car grabbed her gun and shot her. Yeah, the car was on fire, and she went to the car, and the person grabbed her gun and shot her. Can you believe that on her first day of work? No. No, they didn't. They didn't. Okay, I'm gonna take her, and then you, Basil.
The officer that was watching over all the families, is that Dean?
Roy Dean lived in our neighborhood. That was the first house built, the police department built in Liberia. Roy Dean went to school with all of us. He's a little bit younger, but no, the first officer was Jake Saunders. That was the first officer. Basil?
First of all, we thank you for your answer. I think we should give you a round of applause.
Thank you.
Commissioner, is there one decision that you've made that stands out that you're most proud of?
Oh, the street naming. The street naming. You know, I was trying not to read off the paper, so I was trying to remember. The street naming, and I didn't do it by myself. It was Lori Schechter, Pastor Anderson, and Benjamin Israel. I have to say Benjamin was the first person who brought it to our attention that our streets were named after Confederate generals and the Ku Klux Klan. And we worked hard, and I remember the night that the commission had to vote. I told Pastor Anderson, I was I was thinking about running at that time. And I looked over at Pastor Anderson and I said, I'm not running. I can't do that. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. We were still there and people were on the outside. And I looked over at the gentleman's pad and he was telling the Ku Klux Klan members who were on the outside, there is no room in here for you, but you got to fight to get in. So then it kind of frightened me and I said, I'm not going to run. Then I prayed over it, and I prayed over it, and I said to myself, if I don't do it, I will be a little lady sitting in the rocking chair and say, what would I have? Maybe I would have won. Maybe I would have won. So I prayed, and God gave me the answer. He said to me, I'm sure, you all might not believe it. He said, you need to run. And I ran, and the day of the election, I prayed and I said, Lord, am I going to win? And it's like a light came in. You got this. So I just thank the people of District 2 for voting for me. I couldn't tell everybody was calling and say, did you win? Did you win? I couldn't say because that was one thing they did not do, and I just felt like it was real. They never put the check mark that I won for District 2 on TV. It was never there. And I videotaped it on my TV so I could see if I saw the check mark. It was never there. So it still bothers you? Yeah. So thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to